The Nevada desert simmered beneath a scorching sun as Stonevale's private circuit shimmered like a shrine for the privileged, a place where speed was inherited, and the racetrack was their personal stage of legacy. Elena Marsh, quiet and unassuming in a plain white linen blouse, worn-out jeans, and a sun-bleached canvas hat, stepped onto this arena of affluence. Dust trailed behind her battered sneakers, her presence alone a silent challenge to the asphalt aristocracy. They laughed her off as a wanderer, scoffing at her lack of lineage, and handed her a rundown car to guarantee her defeat. What they didn't realize was that the woman they scorned was not only the youngest Lamont champion, but also the secret owner of Stonevale. That truth came roaring to life when her Mercedes Vulcan tore onto the track, halting pit lane chatter and grinding their arrogance into the desert dust. Spread across the Nevada sands, Stonevale's private circuit glistened like an oasis of extravagance. Its sleek curves and polished grandstands stood as a luxurious playground for America's wealthiest bloodlines, where the thunder of engines was a soundtrack of status. The air sizzled with heat, heavy with high-octane fumes and the smug buzz of self-importance. Tailored racing suits and diamond-encrusted watches weren't just accessories. They were declarations of entitlement. Among them stood Elena Marsh, a lone figure in a breezy linen blouse, faded jeans, and a sun-worn canvas hat that hid half her face. Her scuffed sneakers tapped against the pavement, her uninvited presence a quiet act of defiance. This racetrack, with its high-tech pit lanes, digital timing screens, and an arsenal of supercars from McLarens to Ferraris and Mercedes, was a fortress of privilege. Near the main entrance, a security guard barely glanced at her before snapping with venom in his tone, slicing through the desert's buzz. No walk-ins. This isn't some rest stop on a public highway, he barked, his mirrored shades flashing her modest figure like a verdict. His smirk tossed her aside as easily as the swirling dust at his boots. Elena stared him down, calm, steady, saying nothing, her silence a shield that only stoked his ego. She stepped ahead, the brim of her hat casting a shadow over her face as the crowd seethed at the cold public dismissal, branding her an outsider in their golden circle. The pit lane loomed ahead, its gleaming surface the entryway into a world that rejected her existence. Cameras positioned for the circuit's exclusive livestream zoomed in on her worn jeans, using them as visual proof that she didn't belong. Onlookers, heirs to empires, trust fund racers, and glam spectators, took her in with curled lips and cold judgment. Their whispers dripped with sarcasm, a cruel rhythm dancing across the sun-scorched tarmac. Still, Elena moved forward, each step measured and resolute, headed straight for the pit. Without a pedigree or pack, she became invisible to the highborn crowd who ruled Stonevale. As she watched mechanics work with swift precision near the fuel station, a cluster of elite car collectors closed in, jacketed in custom racing gear and vintage Ferrari pins. Their laughter cut sharper than any engine's growl, drowning the clang of tools beneath its cruelty. A silver-haired man stepped forward, flipping open a gold cigarette case, his voice booming with disdain. "Well, what's this? A stray thinking she can ogle our crew?" he scoffed, waving his monogrammed handkerchief like a flag of mockery. "That raggedy hat's screaming homeless, and those jeans? They're a crime against Stonevale's prestige. This track is for the refined, for those chasing legacy, not for someone dragging in dirt with busted sneakers. Why don't you hobble back to whatever backroad you crawled from before you infect our crew with your gutter gaze?" The group cackled, some tossing old spark plugs at her feet as jeers rained down like spitfire. Their cruelty escalated when a hedge fund tycoon in a silk ascot nodded in approval, adding fuel to the mockery. Livestream cameras zoomed in on Elena's sun-worn hat, painting it as a symbol of disgrace. She stood quietly, watching the mechanics, her posture rigid, her face unreadable, armor against the venom being hurled her way. But the weight of their contempt pressed down like a storm. The audience's collective fury swelled at the cruelty inflicted just for her presence and her poverty. It all started at the gate, where Elena stood alone, the desert's merciless heat pouring down on her. The security team's scorn was thick and deliberate, their mission clear: exile the intruder from their exalted turf. A second guard joined in, badge catching the sun as he drawled sarcastically over the hum of luxury engines. Who do we have here? A tourist thinking she can waltz into our Grand Prix, he sneered, waving a clipboard like a scepter. That rag of a hat's yelling hobo, and those jeans pure blasphemy to Stonevale style. This is a palace for racers, not a rest stop for bargain bin fashion. You're lucky we don't charge you for sullying our pavement. Go crawl back to the trailer park before your eyesore ruins our race day. Nearby spectators burst out laughing, phones raised, capturing every insult for social media. The digital storm ignited instantly, #Desert Drifter trending within minutes. The guards pressed on, smug and merciless, one tossing a crumpled visitor pass at her feet. Pick it up and move along, sweetheart. You're not even worth the paper it's printed on. Elena didn't move. Her hat shaded her face, hiding the silent fury brewing behind her stillness. That quiet defiance only fed their arrogance further. But among the roaring crowd, anger swelled, fueled by the spectacle of her public shaming. At the edge of the pit lane, where luxury cars shimmered like gems, Elena's quiet presence caught the attention of Sienna Caldwell, heiress of the Caldwell dynasty and reigning queen of Stonevale's social elite. Decked out in diamond-studded racing gloves and a jumpsuit that looked more runway than racetrack, Sienna marched toward Elena with her entourage in tow like a queen with her court. Her voice sliced through the pit's buzz with a syrupy venom. "Ma'am, this isn't a roadside truck rally," she sneered, eyes raking across Elena's sneakers. "You'd be better off watching traffic back in whatever neighborhood you came from. That blouse? It's practically crying for a washing machine. And that hat? A disgrace to the circuit. This is Stonevale," Sienna declared, her voice laced with contempt. "We race for glory here, not to babysit someone clinging to broken dreams." She paused, letting her words sting. "Honestly, it's pathetic. You really thought you could belong here?" Her eyes narrowed. "Why don't you drag yourself back to whatever gas station you call home before you embarrass yourself any further?" The pit crew burst into laughter, their cheers cutting deep. It was a spectacle, one designed to strip Elena of dignity in front of the mechanics. Some even tossed greasy rags at her feet, turning cruelty into a performance. Social media swarmed with hashtags, #hat, #garagegrub, spite disguised as trend. Sienna's smirk sliced like a blade. Her words cracked like a whip, striking Elena's ambition with precision. Cameras zoomed in on Elena's dusty jeans, turning the moment viral. Elena didn't flinch. The shadow from her canvas had veiled her face, which remained still and unreadable. Her silence, steadier than any scream, spoke volumes. And while the crowd laughed, the online audience boiled with fury at the raw, unapologetic cruelty on display. Later, near the timing tower, Elena checked the race schedule. But even here, she became a target. A swarm of motorsport influencers, glowing with branded caps and neon sneakers, circled around her. Their laughter, sharp and mean, strangled the quiet hum of the track. One lanky influencer, his phone encrusted with diamonds, stepped forward. "Oh, honey," he mocked, waving his live stream like a baton. "You lost? Or do you really think you can read our schedule?" His eyes swept over her. "That blouse is screaming nobody." He sneered. "And those sneakers?" Offensive to Stonevale's glam. "This is where legends are made, not where you wander in with a garage sale hat and zero clue. You're killing the vibe just by standing here. Seriously, go back to your bus stop before you tank our feed with your thrift store look." His crew held in response. Some flicked energy drink tabs at her feet. The insults kept coming, as relentless as a hailstorm. A fashion mogul, lounging in a leather racing jacket, nodded approvingly, validating their cruelty. Cameras caught it all, zooming in on Elena's faded jeans, turning them into a symbol of supposed failure. Still, she stood firm. Her focus didn't waver. She studied the schedule, her posture rigid, her face blank, a fortress against their venom. The crowd watching from afar burned with anger, their outrage mounting at how even her curiosity was targeted for humiliation. Up in the grandstands, where spoiled racers posed for cameras, Elena faced yet another attack. This time from Griffin Blackwell, a smug young heir with enough money and ego to fuel a jet. His designer helmet gleamed in the sun as he sauntered toward her. With a flick of his wrist, he tossed a microfiber cloth her way, his voice loud and biting. "You'd be more useful wiping windshields than pretending you belong here," he scoffed. The cloth landed in Elena's lap like a thrown bone, scraps tossed at a servant. "Those shoes? Charity case. That blouse? A joke. This place is for champions. We burn rubber here, not waste time with someone daydreaming under a dusty old hat. You're dragging our standards into the dirt just by breathing the same air. Go back to wherever you came from before you ruin the entire event with your pitiful act." The grandstand erupted, laughter booming like thunder. Some flicked bottle caps at her feet, adding insult to injury. New hashtags surged, hashtag circuit ghost, hashtag desert drifter. Griffin's grin was razor-sharp. His voice, once again, a weapon. Cameras locked in on the cloth in Elena's lap, spinning it into yet another symbol of her so-called failure. Elena didn't react. Her hands stayed still. Her face remained stone, and her silence held like armor against the onslaught. Anger from the unseen audience grew louder, the digital world rising up against the brutal effort to shred her dignity. By the time she made her way to the paddock area to inspect the safety barriers, the bullying hadn't stopped. A cluster of racing sponsors, decked out in tailored suits and gold cufflinks, blocked her path. Their laughter cut through the engine noise like acid. One heavy-set sponsor, his platinum fountain pen glinting in the sun, stepped forward. "What's this?" he jeered. "A bum who thinks she's qualified to judge our safety protocols?" He waved a contract in the air like a sword. "Those jeans are a disgrace. They're practically yelling tramp. And that hat? It's a crime against Stonevale's class. This track is for titans, for the elite who fund champions. Not for some stray snooping around in a dusty blouse. Just standing here, you're defiling the entire circuit. You look like you wandered in from a junkyard. Do us all a favor and crawl back to whatever shack you call home before you waste another second of our time." The sponsors cackled. Some threw promotional lanyards at her feet. A tech billionaire in a branded racing cap nodded from the sidelines, giving his seal of approval to the harassment. And once again, the cameras focused in, this time, on her hat, casting it as another symbol of her supposed inferiority. Elena kept working. She inspected the safety barriers carefully, her movements controlled and professional. Her face unreadable, her silence impenetrable. But the online audience raged, their frustration exploding at the constant public attacks that painted Elena as unworthy. And the organizers, unsatisfied with verbal abuse, set up one final humiliation. They offered her a courtesy test drive in an old Lotus Trainer. Its paint was peeling, and the engine wheezed from years of neglect. They parked it beside a fleet of flawless McLarens and Ferraris as a cruel joke. Victor Morrow, the silver-haired patriarch of Stonevale's racing scene, delivered the final insult with a smirk. His voice thundered over the pit lane. "Safety first, of course," he said with a smirk. "Though with you, even pressing the gas might be dangerous." He gestured toward the rundown Lotus. His jacket sparkled under the sun. "That hat? It's a billboard for irrelevance. And those jeans? A disgrace to this track. This is Stonevale. We chase immortality here, not playtime. You're lucky we're even letting you breathe near a car. Go back to washing dishes before you crash something and take our legacy with you." The pit crew erupted in mock applause. Laughter shook the concrete. Some tossed used gloves at Elena's feet, as new hashtags surged, hashtag Crash Elena leading the charge. Morrow's smirk cut deep. His voice another lash meant to strip her competence away. Cameras focused in on the rusting Lotus, broadcasting it as Elena's final failure. But Elena just walked toward the car. Her blouse fluttered in the dry desert breeze, her face unreadable, her silence unbroken. The audience's fury coiled like a spring, ready to snap, pushed to the edge by the calculated humiliation designed to destroy Elena's dream. Later that day, during a break in the circuit's activities, Elena sat quietly on a bench near the hospitality tent, studying a map of the track. That moment of calm didn't last. A group of elite motorsport journalists, badges glinting and tailored vests stiff with self-importance, circled her like vultures. Their laughter turned sharp, silencing the low murmur of the tent. One balding journalist stepped forward, silver pen in hand. His voice rose, thick with mockery, rising above the clink of champagne glasses. "Well, would you look at this?" he barked. "A stray who thinks she can make sense of our circuit?" He waved his notepad like it was a royal scroll. "That blouse is so faded, it's practically begging for pity. And those sneakers? A disgrace to Stonevale's legacy. This track is where legends are written, not where someone shows up with a crumpled map and a garage sale outfit. You're standing our story just by sitting here looking like you rolled out of a landfill. Why don't you disappear back to whatever alley you came from before you infect our coverage with your tragic presence?" The press laughed cruelly. Some even tossed crumpled notes at her feet. A media tycoon in a silk scarf gave a small, approving nod, another spark to their fire. The live stream camera zoomed in on Elena's weathered hat, framing it once again as some mark of disgrace. Elena didn't flinch. She kept reviewing the map, posture stiff, face unreadable. Her silence held like steel. The audience online boiled with rage at the latest public assault, this time targeting her effort, her curiosity, her worth. When Elena finally climbed into the Lotus trainer for her so-called test drive, the fix was already in. The organizers had sabotaged the car, quietly adjusting the throttle and tire pressure to make it unstable, difficult to control. The pit crew, fully in on the scheme, fed her bogus telemetry through her headset. Their tone was soaked in sarcasm. "Try not to stall it, sweetheart," one of them sneered as the engine sputtered and the car lurched forward. It coughed under the strain like it knew it didn't belong on that track. From the grandstands, laughter erupted. Sienna's voice cut through. Is she racing or sightseeing? As Elena fought to control the sabotaged vehicle, it fishtailed wildly on the first corner. The timing screens flashed embarrassingly slow lap times. Phones went up. Streams went live. Hashtags exploded. Hashtag slow Elena. Hashtag tinker trash. In the control booth, Victor Moro leaned into the mic with smug satisfaction. "Looks like our guest needs a tow truck," he boomed. After the humiliating test, Elena gathered her things to leave the pit lane. But they weren't done. A cluster of high society spectators blocked her path. Dressed in designer sunglasses and flowing cashmere shawls, they radiated contempt. Their laughter curled through the air like poison. One willowy woman, holding a pearl-studded clutch, stepped forward and mocked. "Leaving already? A failure like you should have never entered." She waved her purse like it was a royal decree. "Those jeans are crying for mercy, and that hat, please. It's an insult to everything Stonevale stands for. This circuit is for champions. For the elite. Not for crash and burn dreamers like you. You're ruining the air around here just by standing in it. Go slink back to whatever slum spat you out before you ruin our evening too." More laughter. Some tossed cocktail napkins at Elena's feet. A venture capitalist in a custom suit smirked his approval. And, like always, the camera zoomed in, this time, on her dirt-covered sneakers, framing them as final proof of her supposed defeat. Elena didn't react. She slung her bag over her shoulder with deliberate calm, her movement steady. Her face gave nothing away. Her silence was her armor, again. The crowd's rage burned hotter, though now it smoldered with shame. Because the very next day, Stonevale awoke buzzing with anticipation for the private Grand Prix. Media teams flooded the grounds. Executives, socialites, and dynastic racers strutted in diamond-studded watches and crisp suits, preening in the desert heat. The air stank of privilege and performance. But their illusion of control was about to shatter. Without warning, a deep, guttural roar split the morning silence. Not the whiny purr of overtuned supercars, but a growl. Something raw, dangerous, unmistakably dominant. From the horizon, kicking up a storm of dust, came in Mercedes Vulcan and Mr. Pro, unseen on their lists, untouched by their approval, untamed by their rules. It moved like a predator, precision in every turn, menace in every rev. The pit crew froze. The crowd hushed. Its carbon fiber body gleamed like a blade. Then, the gullwing door opened, and all pretense died. Elena Marsh stepped out. Her racing suit, sleek and commanding, announced what words never could. The canvas hat was gone. A helmet hung at her side. Her eyes were colder than the titanium frame of the machine behind her. From the VIP gallery, Harold Penrose, the silver-haired chairman of Stonevale, descended the stairs. Each step echoed like thunder. He didn't hesitate. He approached Elena and bowed, not in politeness, but in reverence. His voice thundered across the stunned circuit. "Welcome, Elena Marsh, youngest woman ever to win Le Mans 24 hours. He paused, his words slicing through every whisper. "And as of this morning, the majority owner of Stonevale Circuit." Gasps erupted. From the stands emerged a retired Formula One legend. His victories legendary, his legacy untouchable. His presence alone stilled the air. But his words hit harder. "Elena Marsh, your mastery of the Vulcan is unmatched. Your legacy rewrites the rules." He paused, gaze locked on her helmet, a symbol of her sovereignty. "The FIA will honor you with a Lifetime Achievement Award for your impact on motorsport." The cameras swept across Elena's face, calm, commanding. Her once faded jeans now a symbol of resilience. Her arrival wasn't just a comeback, it was an overthrow. Online, the same audience that once watched her humiliation now roared with pride. Hashtags flipped, hashtag XR Queen drowned, hashtag Desert Drifter. Respect drowned cruelty. Sienna stood frozen, her diamond gloves trembling. Her reign over Stonevale's social elite disintegrated as the internet crowned Elena instead. The journalists dropped their pens. Influencers silenced their streams. The racers who mocked her sat in stunned silence, their monogrammed helmets now relics of a failed coup. The pit lane, once her public crucifixion, now framed her victory. Award after award was announced. Elena pledged to coach young racers through her academy, a blow that sealed her enemy's disgrace. The audience's hearts surged. They hadn't just witnessed a race, they had witnessed history. Elena turned toward the stunned organizers. Her voice, cool as steel, sliced through the silence. I funded this circuit once, she began. To open doors for real racers, those with heart, with grit. Her eyes locked on Morrow, whose face had gone pale. But you turned it into a catwalk for bank balances. She pulled out a paper. A list. Her voice, unwavering. Effective immediately, anyone who disrespected this track, or me, is permanently banned from Stonevale. You won't take a single step beyond these gates ever again, Elena said, her voice calm but absolute. A collective gasp swept through the crowd. Cameras caught every second, every tremble of Sienna's diamond-clad hands, every flicker of panic as her socialite empire crumbled under the weight of public disgrace. Elena's eyes turned to Griffin sharp, unwavering. Her words cut like a blade. True speed isn't about how expensive your car is. It's about something you'll never understand. Then, from the sea of reporters, a renowned automotive designer stepped forward, a woman whose innovations had defined the supercar generation. Her appearance quieted the crowd like a sudden storm. She raised her voice, resonant and clear. Elena Marsh, she declared, your control of the Vulcan is pure artistry. A level of precision that will shape the future of automotive engineering. Her eyes locked onto Elena's racing suit, no longer a uniform, but a mantle of unshakable power. Mercedes will dedicate a performance lab in your name to pioneer the next era of racing technology. The cameras zoomed in on Elena's face, serene, grounded. The canvas hat, once mocked, had become a symbol of everything she had overcome. Her return to the pit lane wasn't just redemption, it was retribution. Every step she took erased a jeer. Every glance silenced the scorn. The audience's rage over the earlier sabotage had melted into reverence. The designer's vow hit like a final strike, clean, irreversible. Each word shattered the last remnants of the antagonist's arrogance. Griffin Blackwell stood frozen, his once prized helmet now a hollow echo of a legacy undone. His family name buried beneath a flood of new hashtags, hashtag Stonevale Reborn, hashtag XRQueen. Journalists raced to capture the moment. Headlines painted Elena not as a victim, but as a silent force, an unstoppable racer whose skill burned brighter than betrayal. The pit crew who had once sabotaged her were now mute. Their tools untouched, their bravado extinguished by the truth of her dominance. The grandstands, once a coliseum of cruelty, now stood as a monument to her resilience. Each lap she had driven became a chapter of unyielding dignity. The designer's announcement that she would partner with Elena's Racing Academy sealed the final blow. The legacies of those who mocked her were reduced to dust, forgotten footnotes, and a story rewritten by truth. The audience's hearts swelled with pride. Then, at her official coronation before the press, Elena calmly stepped forward holding a dossier. Her voice was clear and sharp. Stonevale's mismanagement ends now, she said. I've acquired all outstanding debts. She paused, then delivered the final strike. Effective immediately, those who disrespected this track, and me, are permanently banned from Stonevale. Right there on the pit lane, she signed the bans into effect. Sienna and Griffin were removed on the spot, powerless in the face of her authority. Then, from the press box, another titan emerged, a legendary motorsport journalist whose words had once defined the golden age of racing. He stepped forward, commanding silence with nothing more than presence. Then he spoke, his voice a thundering declaration. Elena Marsh, your Vulcan drift has just become a part of racing history. He paused. You've honored every unsung racer who ever dared to challenge the elite. His gaze dropped to Elena's helmet, now revered like a sacred relic. The International Motorsport Hall of Fame will dedicate an entire wing to your legacy at Le Mans. The cameras panned across Elena's unblinking stare. Her once faded sneakers were now a badge of honor. Her every step, a rejection of every attempt to erase her. The audience's emotions surged. Their fury from before had transformed. Now it was awe. The influencers who had once mocked her now stood silent, their designer hats and clever captions reduced to outdated artifacts. Hashtag Slow Elena was gone, buried under the roaring rise of hashtag XRQueen. Every image of Elena behind the wheel was framed not as spectacle, but as truth. Her skill had eclipsed their betrayal. The ones who had tossed napkins and jeered sat motionless, stripped of their power by her grace. The track itself, once a stage for her public humiliation, now bore witness to her rise. Each award was more than a trophy, it was a reckoning. And then, the final blow came with the journalist's promise. Elena's story would headline an anthology of racing's greatest legends. It sealed the fate of her enemies, their legacy now a cautionary tale. Media across the globe exploded. Footage of Elena stepping from the Vulcan went viral within hours, her every move dissected, celebrated, honored. Then came one last voice from the VIP stands. A global racing safety advocate, known for rewriting the protocols that had saved countless lives, stepped forward. Her presence silenced even the hum of engines. She addressed the crowd and Elena. Elena Marsh, your precision behind the wheel has redefined racing safety. Her voice never wavered. Your legacy will protect future generations of drivers. The FIA Safety Commission will create an award in your name to honor racers of exceptional discipline and courage. The cameras captured Elena's expression, serene, grounded, powerful. Her genes now a relic of a storm survived. Her final drift wasn't just a race, it was a statement. The audience's admiration soared. The same hashtags that once shamed her, #hat, #GarageGrub, were buried beneath a tidal wave of honor. #Stonevale Reborn, #XR Queen, #Elena Marsh Legacy. The racing team sponsors who once sneered now stood wordless, their luxury suits meaningless in the face of her triumph. The press no longer chased cruelty. They chased truth. And the truth was Elena Marsh had conquered everything they threw at her. Not just the sabotage, not just the track, but the very system that tried to keep her out. The pit crew who'd sabotaged her stood silent, their clout erased by Elena's brilliance. The circuit's grandstands framed her victory, each award a testament to her enduring dignity. The advocates' commitment to integrate Elena's safety insights into global standards sealed the antagonist's humiliation, their legacy reduced to ash. The audience's heart swelling with pride at her coronation. The fallout was cataclysmic. Grandwood's culture of elitism shattered under Elena's iron will. She didn't merely own the circuit. She transformed it into a merit-based racing academy for underprivileged youth free of charge, where the track belonged to those who earned it, not those who bought it. The racers who'd mocked her were blacklisted. Their licenses revoked, their social media accounts drowned in condemnation. Their #SheCrash, Elena hashtags replaced by #Grandwood Reborn. Sienna's expulsion became a national scandal. Her family's influence, a fading echo, her gloves, a relic of her disgrace. Moreau's career was obliterated. His name erased from racing circles. His jacket, a forgotten artifact. The press uncovered Elena's past, a prodigy who'd risen from nothing to conquer laymen. Her victories earned through sheer grit or anonymity, a choice to honor the unsung. They called her the silent racer, her blouse and jeans, now symbols of untouchable authority. Other circuits sent her invitations begging for partnerships, but she declined, her silence as powerful as her Vulcan's roar. As a legendary race engineer whose innovations had powered Le Mans victories stepped forward from the throng. His presence a final blow to the antagonist's pride, his voice a resonant proclamation that silenced the desert's hum. Elena Marsh, your mastery of the Vulcan is a beacon for every racer who dares to dream. He declared, his eyes fixed on Elena's helmet, now a symbol of her triumph. The Society of Automotive Engineers will name its highest honor. After you celebrating excellence in racing engineering, the cameras followed Elena's serene silhouette, her blouse, a relic of her victory, her drift, a legend that would outlive the track. The audience's satisfaction surged, their rage at the initial cruelty transformed into reverence at the engineer's pledge, each word a lash against the antagonist's pride. The high society spectators who tossed napkins stood trembling, their cashmere shawls irrelevant. There. #Crash. Elena hashtags buried under #Vulcan Queen trends that dominated global feeds. The press, their headlines blazing, framed Elena as the silent racer. Her skill, a radiant force that outshone their betrayal, the air thick with the weight of her triumph and their disgrace. The influencers and sponsors sat in stunned silence, their clout extinguished by Elena's brilliance. The audience who jeered her were left to grapple with their shame. Their status erased, their clout a fading echo. Elena's victory wasn't just ownership. It was a reckoning etched into Grandwood's history. A reminder that the simplest woman could wield the deadliest speed, the audience's hearts pounding with pride. Grandwood's transformation was seismic. Its pit lanes now a beacon for dreamers who'd been denied the track. Elena's academy trained racers with the precision of her llama runs, her instructors handpicked for skill, their respect for her absolute. Their eyes on the asphalt where she'd silenced the elite, the circuit supercars. Once toys for the rich, now serve the determined, the media documenting every lap as a testament to her vision. The corporate tycoons who'd scoffed were ostracized. Their invitations to elite events revoked, their influence meaningless against Elena's reach. The influencers who'd filmed or crashed faced a social media storm. Their accounts suspended their clout, buried under #VulcanQueen trends. Elena's closing statement, delivered to a global audience, echoed like a turbocharged roar. "I didn't come here for applause. I came to remind you whose track you're standing on." The press framed her as a legend. Her Vulcan's drift, a symbol of justice, her academy, a revolution that redefined racing. The audience's satisfaction soared, their rage at the initial cruelty transformed into reverence for her triumph, each word a testament to her enduring dignity. The Nevada Flats, once a backdrop for privilege, now framed her empire, where Elena's victory stood as an unassailable truth. Elena Marsh doesn't need spotlights. She lets engines speak. She lets silence humiliate. Like, share, comments, subscribe, because next time they mock a simple woman, she might be the one writing the rules. You're too slow to follow.